So we've hit our biggest roadblock yet, which is kind of funny because if you watched the last devlog, it seemed like everything was going very well.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Game was starting to look complete, and I felt like I was starting to get a good rhythm. So what on earth happened? Well, I think it finally hit me that I have a lot of stuff in this game right now that is only half done. And once I noticed that, I couldn't really unsee it. There are a lot of systems in the game that technically exist but aren't really finished. There are ideas I've started but I haven't fully connected to anything, and there are scripts sitting there that I know I need to come back to. And even features that I think would be cool but aren't really essential yet. And when all of that is just sort of sitting inside the project at once, it starts to feel less like progress and more like clutter. This is probably the biggest issue I've found so far using AI for game development. Just because you can add something quickly doesn't mean you should. And I think I've been learning that the hard way, because AI really does make things move fast. You can have an idea, you can give it a prompt, get a script, test something, iterate on it, and suddenly you have a feature that would have taken ages, but is now sitting in your game. And I genuinely find that useful. That's one of the reasons why obviously I'm so interested in this whole process. But the downside is that you can get ahead of yourself really quickly. Well, that's pretty much what's happened. I've started to look around the project and realized there were far too many loose ends. Too many things that I had started that were almost there, or things that I thought would be useful later, but weren't really helping me out right now.
No, 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 no. Wait. Wait.
And because we're just under 3 weeks away from submitting the demo for approval, this is a pretty big problem, right? We're not in the space where we can keep adding more ideas. Ideally, we want to be getting clear on what the demo actually is. And honestly, for a while, I didn't really know where to go. I actually had a moment where I just sat in front of a Miro board and basically tried to draw everything out from scene to scene. They weren't good drawings, but I was just trying to get any form of clarity, like anything. And I was trying to map out, what was the game, what mattered, what still needed doing, and what probably could be cut. Because the main issue wasn't that I had no work done, it was almost the opposite. There was so much work in progress I couldn't tell what the most important thing next was to do. And that's not really a great place to be. And I don't even want to talk about my Trello board because my Trello board really wasn't helping. I've been playing around with it, trying to organize things better, moving cards around, different sections, etc. But honestly, it's just not really working that well. I got a little bit more clarity, but I still don't really have an idea for the demo, the full game, the current version that exists in my head, and what the game will look like moving forward. And I think that's probably where I've been going wrong. I think I've just been thinking far too much into the future. And with AI, it's very tempting to do that because literally, if you have an idea for a system, you can start building it now. And for me, I would queue up prompts in Cursor, let it work away at something. And while that's happening, I could make images on the side with ChatGPT. And that sounds productive, and it was. But what I didn't really realize that I think a lot of the time I have been pushing a bit too far. And instead of focusing on that next most important thing, I kept opening up more loops for me to then close up down the line. And as a result, it's been a bit of a roadblock. In fact, I would almost argue the game has become slightly too wide and not finished enough. And that is pretty damn stressful, right? Because every time I open up the project, I'm constantly reminded of the thing that I have started but not yet finished. So the question now is, what do I actually do about it? And I think the answer is probably just going scene by scene. I mean, I started doing that yesterday, just looking at the whole game as one massive project, going through each scene and trying to just get a focus on the things that are absolutely necessary, right? Not the things that were nice or cool, but doing things I actually needed. I started with the main menu, started cleaning that up, and I'm going to be working away at the other things as well. So right now, I'm basically just trying to focus on the core gameplay loop. What does the player actually do? What the experience of the demo? What's in the middle? The beginning, middle, and end of that experience. And at the moment, I've got a rough idea. Likelihood is, for the demo, the player will probably get to fight the first 2 gatekeeper bosses in the provincial arena. But after that, they won't be able to rank up anymore unless they get the full game. I feel that's probably a decent boundary, but I'm still yet to figure out exactly what that looks like. But I think really it is just trying to treat the demo as just a focus slice of the game, and then ideally from there, it should give people a pretty good idea. And I think this is probably the biggest lesson from this devlog in the sense that AI really can make you build faster, but it doesn't automatically help you decide what matters. And just because you can build things doesn't mean that you should. And I think that's sort of what I struggled with this week. I got caught really just between the version of the game I eventually wanted to make and the version I really needed right now. But for now, the demo really does need focus. It needs to be clear and it needs to be strong enough so that someone can try it and actually understand what the game's supposed to be. So that's the plan for the demo, and that's the plan really just moving forward. I think it's a very difficult thing trying to always get clarity on the game, but I think just working at it bit by bit, even though I could go and prompt and queue loads of prompts, I think especially now it's just getting clarity because there are things already with Primus which I've gotten Cursor to delete. To basically delete or to merge or to hugely simplify. And the reality is, as well, if I hadn't, I guess, gotten so far ahead of myself with things, then I probably could have actually saved time by not even trying to implement those at all. So that's obviously where I'm at with that. But no, I think moving forward, at least for the upcoming week, it will just be focusing on scene by scene. I'm going to be looking at sort of trying to focus on the combat bits. I'm really just getting everything working as a bit of a loop. I need to obviously remind myself that the demo doesn't have to be this massive complete thing, but I do want it to give a pretty good idea as to what the game holds. So I'll keep you in the loop for that. But with that said, I'll catch you soon.